I never imagined the day I would hear those words. My voice trembled when I asked, "So when is the wedding, my dear?" It was supposed to be a gentle question, asked with warmth, asked with the eagerness of a mother who had waited for this moment her whole life. But my daughter-in-law, no, the woman who should have been my daughter-in-law smiled awkwardly, her eyes darting toward the floor, and whispered, "We got married yesterday." Her words hit me like a blade straight into my chest. My ears rang, my breath caught, and for a moment the room tilted beneath me. I felt the world collapsing in slow motion, my heart shattering as though 1,000 glass pieces scattered on the floor. What did you say?" I stammered, clutching the edge of the chair for balance. She swallowed hard, her hands twisting together nervously. "I'm sorry, I know this is sudden, but yes, your son and we got married yesterday. Yesterday, not today. Not tomorrow, yesterday, and I wasn't there. I wasn't invited. I wasn't told. I wasn't even allowed to witness the most important day of my only son's life." Where was it? My voice cracked like dry wood burning in a fire. "In the city courthouse," she replied softly. "It was just us and 2 witnesses. Very simple, very private. Private, that word stabbed me deeper than anything else. Private from who? Private from me. From his mother who carried him, raised him, sacrificed everything for him." "Does he know you told me?" I asked, my voice sharper now, anger beginning to rise behind my tears. She hesitated. Her silence was louder than any confession. I felt heat rush to my face. "Answer me," I demanded, my voice breaking. She flinched. "No, he doesn't know I told you yet." My heart sank further. So this was how I found out, not from my son, but from the woman who had stolen him away from me in silence. I couldn't sit still any longer. I stood up, pacing across the small living room, my hands shaking violently. "My son got married yesterday." I muttered to myself, as if repeating it would help me believe it. "And I wasn't there. I wasn't even told. How could he do this to me? How could you?" Her eyes filled with tears. "Please try to understand. He didn't want to hurt you, hurt me." I snapped, turning on her. "Do you have any idea what this feels like? Do you have any idea what it means for a mother to be excluded from her own child's wedding? Do you think I gave up my youth, my health, my whole life, him, so he could leave me in the shadows like this?" Her lips trembled. "It wasn't meant to be like this." "Then what was it meant to be like?" I shot back. "Tell me, because I cannot understand how a son looks at his mother and decides she doesn't deserve to see him marry." The silence between us grew heavier, only broken by the pounding of my heart. I could almost hear it echoing through the room. Finally, she whispered, "He thought you wouldn't approve." My knees nearly buckled. "Wouldn't approve," I repeated, my voice faint, strangled by the ache in my chest. So instead of facing me, instead of trusting me, my son chose to erase me from the most important day of his life. Her silence was the answer. I felt tears welling, blurring my vision, but I refused to let them fall. Not yet, not in front of her. I straightened my back, breathing hard. "Where is he now?" I demanded. "At work," she said, barely audible. "Call him." I ordered. She blinked. "Now?" "Yes, now, call my son. Because if he doesn't come here and explain this to me, I swear to God, I will never forgive him for as long as I live." Her hands trembled as she pulled her phone from her pocket. She hesitated before dialing, glancing at me as though seeking permission. I nodded sharply. She pressed the button and lifted it to her ear. The ringing echoed in the silence of the room. Once, twice, 3 times. Then his voice came through, warm, casual, unsuspecting. "Hey, sweetheart, everything okay?" Her eyes darted to me. I glared back, signaling her to keep going. Yes, but can you come home, please?" He paused on the other end. "Now I'm in the middle of work. Please, it's important." He sighed. "All right, I'll be there in 20 minutes." She hung up, her fingers trembling as she set the phone down on the table. I stood by the window, my chest rising and falling rapidly. waiting for the moment my son would walk through that door and explain why he had betrayed me so cruelly. When the door finally opened, I turned, my heart breaking all over again as I looked into the eyes of the boy I had raised. The boy who was now a man, a husband, and a stranger to me. The door creaked open, and there he was, my son. His face lit up when he saw his wife, but the moment his eyes fell on me, the smile froze. The warmth drained from his expression, replaced by shock, then discomfort, then something that felt like guilt. "Mom," he muttered almost under his breath, what are you doing here?" I folded my arms tightly across my chest, though they trembled. "What am I doing here? That's my question for you. What have you done?" He blinked, then shot a quick glance at his wife, who sat frozen on the couch. "You told her?" he asked, his tone sharp, accusing. She lowered her gaze, whispering, "She asked me, I couldn't lie." He ran a hand over his face, sighing heavily. "Unbelievable." I took a step forward, my voice trembling but loud. "Unbelievable. Unbelievable is that my only son got married yesterday, and his mother wasn't even invited. Do you understand what that does to me? Do you understand the humiliation, the betrayal I feel right now? Mom, please. Don't you dare, Mom, please me," I shouted, my voice cracking. "I raised you. I gave you everything I had, every breath, every drop of blood. And this is how you repay me, by cutting me out of your wedding like some stranger off the street." His jaw tightened, his hands balled into fists at his sides. "You don't understand, then make me understand," I cried, stepping closer. "Because right now, the only thing I understand is that my son, the boy I loved more than my own life, has turned his back on me." The silence that followed was suffocating. He shifted uncomfortably, his eyes darting between me and his wife. Finally, he muttered, "I didn't tell you because I knew you'd say no." I blinked, stunned. "Say no? To what? To her?" he said flatly, jerking his chin toward his wife. My heart stuttered. "You think I don't approve of her." He didn't answer. He didn't need to, the way he avoided my gaze, the tension in his jaw. It told me everything. I turned to her, searching her face, desperate for some kind of truth. She shook her head quickly, tears welling in her eyes. "I never asked him to hide this from you, I swear." But my son's words had already planted a poisonous seed inside me. "So you thought your mother would stand in the way of your happiness?" I whispered, my voice breaking. He finally met my gaze, his eyes dark, almost resentful. "Yes, I did." The weight of that single word crushed me. All the years of sacrifices, going hungry so he could eat, working double shifts so he could go to school, praying every night for his future. It all collapsed under the weight of his accusation. I staggered back a step, clutching my chest as though his words had physically pierced me. You think so little of me," he sighed again, more in frustration than regret. "It's not about what you've done, Mom. It's about how you are. You always need control. You always think you know best. I couldn't risk you ruining this for us." "Ruining?" I echoed, my voice trembling. "Yes," he snapped suddenly, his voice rising for the first time. "I wanted a small, simple wedding. I wanted peace, and I knew if you were there, it would turn into arguments, complaints, drama. Like it always does." The words burned. My lips quivered as I tried to speak, but no sound came out at first. When it finally did, my voice was hollow, broken. "So that's what I am to you now, drama." Neither of them spoke. The silence itself screamed louder than any words. I turned, staring at the window, trying to steady the storm raging in my chest. The night outside looked colder than ever, the darkness pressing against the glass. I closed my eyes, whispering more to myself than to them. I missed my son's wedding. I missed the one moment I should have been there for, and I'll never get it back. When I turned back to them, I saw her, my daughter-in-law, clutching her stomach nervously. Her hand lingered there just a moment too long. My eyes narrowed. "Why are you holding your stomach like that?" I asked quietly. She froze, startled. My son immediately stepped in, his voice sharp. "Mom, don't." My heart skipped a beat. "Don't what?" He inhaled deeply, then exhaled, as though summoning the courage to speak. Finally, he said it. She's pregnant. The world tilted again. Pregnant. My head spun, my knees weak. My son hadn't just married behind my back. He had married because he was going to be a father, and he hadn't told me. I stared at them both, my breath trembling. Pregnant. I repeated softly, almost in disbelief, "You're going to have a child, and I had to find out like this. Mom, please understand." Understand? I cut him off, my tears spilling freely now. You've cut me out of your wedding, and now you'd cut me out of my grandchild's life, too. His face darkened. If you keep this up, maybe I will. The room went silent. Her hand tightened on his arm, silently begging him to stop. But his words had already pierced me deeper than any knife. I realized then, this wasn't just about a wedding. This was about something bigger, something darker. My son wasn't just hiding his marriage, he was hiding his new life from me. And maybe, just maybe, he planned to erase me from it entirely. I stood frozen in the center of the room, staring at the two people I thought I knew, and yet in that moment they felt like strangers. My son's hand rested protectively on her shoulder, and the sight burned me in a way I couldn't explain. That hand used to reach for me when he was afraid of the dark, when he wanted comfort, when he needed love. Now it was no longer mine to hold. I swallowed hard, my throat dry. So that's it then. You married her in secret because she's pregnant, and you didn't think I deserved to know. He shifted uncomfortably, his eyes narrowing. It wasn't about deserving. It was about peace, about protecting our future. Protecting from who? I demanded. From me. His silence was the answer. A bitter laugh escaped my lips, though it sounded more like a sob. After everything I've done for you, you think I would destroy your happiness? Do you think I would harm my own grandchild? Do you think I would curse the very thing I've prayed for? He winced but didn't move. She whispered softly, "Please, let's not fight. It's not good for the baby." Something inside me snapped. "Don't you dare use that baby as a shield." I shouted, my tears spilling freely now. "Don't you dare stand there and pretend I am some monster who wants to hurt you. I have only ever wanted one thing, your happiness, and yet you've stolen mine." He exhaled sharply, his jaw clenched. "You don't get it, Mom. You never did. Then explain it to me," I cried, because right now my heart is breaking and all I want is the truth. For the first time, I saw his face harden in a way I had never seen before. He looked older, colder, like a man I didn't recognize. "The truth," he said slowly. "Fine, the truth is, I didn't want you there because I didn't want you asking questions. Questions about her, questions about how we met, questions about things that are better left unsaid." I froze, my tears momentarily forgotten. "What are you talking about?" She shifted nervously, her hands twisting together, eyes darting to him as though silently pleading for him to stop. He ignored her, his voice grew lower, more dangerous. "We didn't just fall in love, Mom. It wasn't some fairy tale story. It was complicated and messy, and if you had been there, you would have sniffed it out. You always do." My heartbeat quickened. I stared at her, at him, at the invisible wall between us. "What are you hiding from me?" Her lips trembled. "Please don't tell me," I demanded, my voice echoing through the room. He finally dropped his gaze, his shoulders tense. "She was married before." The words hit me like lightning. I staggered back, gripping the arm of the chair to steady myself. "Married," I whispered. You're someone's wife." She shook her head quickly, tears streaming down her face. "Not anymore. It was a mistake, a terrible mistake. I left him. I had to." But my son's voice cut through her trembling defense. "Not just left him, she left him for me." The room spun around me. I gripped the chair tighter, my nails digging into the wood. You were with a married woman. Don't make it sound dirty." He snapped. "It wasn't like that. Her marriage was over long before I came into the picture. Over." I scoffed, my voice sharp and cold. "Was it over when you met her? Was it over when you started sneaking around behind everyone's back? Was it over when you decided your mother wasn't good enough to know the truth? Her sobs filled the silence, and he pulled her into his arms, glaring at me over her shoulder. I love her, Mom, that's all that matters. I don't care what you think. I don't care what anyone thinks. She's my wife now. She's carrying my child, and nothing you say will change that. My vision blurred with tears, my chest heaving with every breath. So that's it, you've chosen her over me. I've chosen my future, he said coldly. The finality in his tone shattered me completely. My knees gave out, and I sank into the chair, covering my face with trembling hands. But even as I wept, a small voice inside me whispered something darker. If she left one husband for my son, what else was she capable of leaving behind? And why was he so afraid of me asking questions? There was something more, something hidden, and I swore to myself I would find it. Secret wedding, pregnancy, daughter-in-law's past marriage. The mother begins suspecting deeper secrets, her instincts kicking in, leading to confrontation and discovery. I couldn't sleep that night. The words circled in my head like vultures, tearing at me again and again. She was married before, she left him for me. I tossed on my bed, my heart pounding as if it were trying to escape my chest. My pillow was soaked with tears, but my mind refused to rest. Mothers know, we always know. Something about her, about the way she avoided my eyes, about the way my son rushed to silence me. It gnawed at me like a splinter buried deep in my skin. She wasn't telling me everything. He wasn't telling me everything, and I had to find out what it was. The next morning, I stood outside their apartment door with a determination that surprised even me. My hands trembled, but not with weakness, with purpose. When she opened the door, her face drained of color. Mother," she stammered, clutching the doorframe, "where's my son?" I asked firmly. "At work," she whispered. "Good," I said, pushing past her into the apartment. She looked startled, but she didn't stop me. Maybe she knew better. Maybe she was too afraid. The living room was neat, too neat, as if she had spent the morning scrubbing every trace of her past away. I turned slowly, letting my eyes take in every corner. "You think you can hide things from me?" I asked softly, though my tone carried steel. "I've raised a son on my own. I've survived things you can't imagine. You think a woman like me can't smell secrets from a mile away?" Her lips trembled, but she stayed silent. "Tell me the truth," I said, stepping closer. "What kind of marriage did you run from? Who was he? Why did you leave him, and why do I feel like he hasn't left you?" Her eyes widened, panic flickering across her face. That was all the answer I needed. I leaned closer, my voice sharp. "Did you divorce him or just escape?" Her tears spilled then, her body trembling. It's complicated," she whispered. "Complicated?" I snapped. "You're carrying my grandchild, and you think complicated is good enough for me. No, I need the truth, every ugly piece of it." She backed away, shaking her head. "Please, I can't." "You can and you will," I said firmly. She pressed her hands to her face, sobbing. "He was cruel," she finally blurted. "Cruel in ways you can't imagine. He controlled me, broke me down. I was suffocating, and then your son. He saved me. He gave me hope again." I froze, my anger clashing with pity. Her voice carried raw pain, the kind only a woman who has suffered could carry. But something still didn't sit right. "Cruel," I repeated slowly. "Then why are you so afraid of him still?" She looked up, startled, her lips parting but no words coming out. I stepped closer, my eyes narrowing. "Because he doesn't know you're remarried, does he? He doesn't know you're pregnant, and if he finds out, he'll come for you." She gasped, a sharp sound that confirmed my worst fear. I staggered back, my mind spinning. Dear God, what has my son gotten himself into? The silence stretched, broken only by her sobs, and then, as if the world wanted to remind me of the danger, a sharp knock echoed at the door. 3 loud bangs. Her face went white. "No," she whispered, shaking her head. "It can't be him, it can't be." I stared at her, my blood running cold. Who? But she didn't answer. Her trembling hand reached for the door, hesitated, then slowly turned the knob. The door creaked open, and standing there was a man, tall, broad shoulders, dark eyes that scanned the room like knives. He looked at her first, then at me. His lips curled into something between a smile and a sneer. "Hello, darling," he said softly. Her knees buckled. She gripped the doorframe, gasping for breath. I knew immediately. This wasn't just some man. This was him, her first husband. The ex-husband shows up. The daughter-in-law was running, not just divorced. Excellent, now we're at the boiling point. We've had heartbreak, betrayal, and secrets, confrontation with the ex-husband, danger, and another shocking twist about why the son hid everything. The man's voice dripped with menace, calm but threatening. Did you really think you could hide from me forever? She stumbled back, her breathing ragged, tears streaking her face. Please don't do this. Not here, not now. He stepped inside without invitation, his presence filling the room with darkness. His eyes finally landed on me, narrowing, and who is this? I stood tall, even as my heart thundered in my chest. I'm her mother-in-law, I said firmly, and you are not welcome here. His smile widened, but it was the kind of smile that sent chills down my spine. Mother-in-law, he chuckled, shaking his head. How quickly she moves on, how easily she forgets. Get out, I demanded, though my voice shook. Or what? His gaze sharpened. You'll call the police. Do you really think they'll protect her? Do you think they'll protect you? She cried out, rushing between us. Please just leave. I told you it was over. I told you I wanted nothing to do with you. His hand shot out, gripping her wrist so tightly she gasped. You're mine, he hissed. You always will be. Before I could move, before I could scream, the front door slammed open behind us. Get your hands off her. My son stood there, his face pale with fury. He crossed the room in seconds, shoving the man back so hard he stumbled. Ah, the ex-husband sneered, regaining his balance. The hero arrives. This is my wife. My son growled, his fists clenched. And if you ever touch her again, I swear you'll what? The man interrupted, laughing bitterly. You stole her from me. Do you think I'll just walk away? Do you think a piece of paper makes her yours? She chose me. My son snapped. She'll regret it, the man said coldly, his eyes glinting with hatred, because everything you have, your love, your marriage, your child, it all belongs to me first. My blood ran cold. He knows about the baby, I gasped, staring at her. You told him. She shook her head violently, tears streaming. No, I never told him, I swear, the man smirked. You think secrets can stay buried forever. You think lies don't find their way out. My son lunged forward, his fist colliding with the man's jaw. The sound echoed through the apartment, raw and violent. The man staggered, blood trickling from his lip, but he only laughed. Good, he snarled. Fight me. Prove to her you're just like me. I rushed forward, grabbing my son's arm before he could strike again. Stop, I cried. This isn't the way. Don't give him what he wants. But the man's words had already poisoned the air. My son's chest heaved, his eyes wild with rage. His wife clung to his arm, sobbing, begging him to stop. And then in the chaos the man spat out words that froze us all. You think you know the truth, boy. You think she told you everything. She never even divorced me. The room fell silent. I stared at her, horrified. What did he just say? She shook her head frantically. He's lying. Don't listen to him. But the man only smiled, his bloody lip curling. No papers, no signatures, no divorce. She's still my wife, which means your little courthouse wedding. He laughed darkly. Nothing but a joke. My son's face went pale, his fists trembling at his sides. He looked at her, his voice raw. Tell me he's lying. She collapsed to her knees, sobbing uncontrollably. I wanted to. I tried, but he wouldn't let me. He wouldn't sign the papers. I thought it didn't matter if I left. I thought. Her voice broke, drowned in tears. I staggered back, my hand covering my mouth. My son's marriage, his new life was built on a lie. And worse, the man standing before us wasn't just her past. Legally, he was still her present. The ex-husband confronts them directly. The daughter-in-law never officially divorced him. Now the stakes are higher than ever. My son's marriage might be invalid. The unborn child's future is uncertain. The ex-husband has leverage. Where the ex-husband starts blackmailing and the narrator has to make a painful sacrifice to protect her son. Or should I map out the remaining "we've reached the storm"? The ex-husband revealed marriage is invalid. Now I'll push it into blackmail, betrayal, and the mother stepping into a dangerous role. My son's face was ashen, his fists trembling. He stared at his wife, his voice raw, almost broken. "You told me you were free," he whispered. "You swore you were done with him." She clutched his arm, sobbing. "I thought I was. I thought leaving him was enough. I thought the papers didn't matter if I never went back. I was scared. He threatened me. He said if I ever tried to divorce him, he'd ruin me. I just wanted to be free." The ex-husband laughed, the sound sharp and cruel. "Free, you'll never be free of me, not in this life, not while I breathe." My son lunged forward again, but I stepped between them, pressing my hands against his chest. "No," I shouted. "Don't let him drag you into his darkness. That's what he wants, to destroy you, to make you lose everything." The man smirked, his eyes glinting with malice. "Smart woman, pity your son didn't inherit your patience." He turned slowly, surveying the room, his words calm but venomous. "Here's how this goes. You want me to disappear. You want me to keep quiet about the fact that your little marriage is worthless." He paused, his gaze cutting into each of us. "Then you're going to pay me." My son's jaw clenched. "You filthy—" "Stop," I whispered, gripping his arm tighter. The man leaned closer, his breath foul. "Money every month, enough to make it worth my silence otherwise." He tapped his temple, smiling. "One phone call, and your happy little family is over before it begins." My chest tightened, fury burning hot inside me. But I knew he wasn't bluffing. Men like him never bluff. "How much?" I asked quietly. "Mother, no." My son began, but I silenced him with a glare. The man's grin widened. "Now there's the smart one. For now, let's say 5,000 every month in cash delivered by you." "By me?" I asked sharply. He nodded. "Yes, I want to see your face. I want to know the woman who raised the boy who thought he could steal from me." My son's hand trembled in mine. "Mom, please don't get involved." But I looked into my son's eyes and I saw the boy I had raised, the boy who once depended on me for everything. And I knew deep down that I would rather carry this burden than watch his life be destroyed. "I'll do it," I whispered. The man chuckled, satisfied. "Good. First payment in 3 days. Don't be late." With that, he turned and walked out, leaving the door wide open, his presence lingering like smoke after a fire. The silence that followed was unbearable. My son collapsed onto the couch, burying his face in his hands. His wife sobbed quietly beside him. I stood frozen, my heart pounding, my mind spinning. I had just agreed to blackmail. I had just promised to protect them with money I didn't even have. But I didn't care, because that's what mothers do. We carry the burdens our children cannot. That night, as I sat alone at my kitchen table, staring at the little money I had left, the weight of my choice crushed me. I had no savings worth speaking of, no jewels to pawn, no secret fortune hidden away. I would have to work harder, sacrifice more. But as I sat there in the silence, another thought crept in. Why did the ex-husband want me to deliver the money? Why insist on seeing me every month? There was something more, something he wasn't saying, and I swore to myself, if he thought he could break me, he was wrong. Because I wasn't just a mother. I was a survivor, and I would uncover every last secret before I let him destroy my son. The ex-husband blackmails them for money, demanding the mother deliver it. The mother chooses to sacrifice herself to protect her son and grandchild. Suspense. The ex clearly has another motive for wanting her directly involved. Where the mother uncovers the ex-husband's deeper motive and betrayal from within the family, here, the story deepens. The mother begins paying the blackmail, but soon discovers there's a hidden connection between the ex-husband and someone inside her own family. I didn't sleep that night. Every tick of the clock hammered against my skull. Every shadow on the wall seemed to breathe. When morning came, I sat at the table with a pen, a notepad, and my trembling hands. $5,000. Every month, where in God's name was I supposed to find it? I made lists. I scratched out numbers. My pension barely covered my bills. The bakery job brought in crumbs compared to what he demanded. If I sold everything, my rings, my furniture, it would buy us a few months. But then what? The thought of handing my hard-earned money to that man twisted my stomach with rage. But then I thought of my son, of his trembling voice, of his wife's tear-stained face, of the child they hadn't even brought into the world yet. I couldn't let their lives be destroyed, so I did what I always did. I carried the weight. 3 days later, I stood in the same coffee shop where the ex-husband told me to meet him. My purse felt heavy with the envelope inside. My palms were slick with sweat. He arrived late, sauntering in like a man who owned the place. He slid into the chair across from me, grinning. "Well, well," he said. "The proud mother keeps her word. I like that." I pushed the envelope across the table. "This is the first and the last. You'll leave them alone now." He opened it, thumbing through the bills. "Cute, but don't play games with me. You know the deal. Every month, or I start making phone calls." My hands clenched under the table. "Why me?" I asked quietly. "Why not take the money from my son directly?" His grin widened. "Because watching you suffer gives me more satisfaction than watching him suffer. He's already weak, but you're strong. Breaking you is better than breaking him." I felt the blood drain from my face. He leaned back, chuckling. "Besides, you're not as innocent as you pretend to be." My breath caught. "What do you mean by that?" He tapped the side of his nose. "Secrets have a funny way of finding me, and I know more about your family than you think." I froze. "You're lying, am I?" His eyes sparkled with malice. "Ask your son who gave me your number, who told me where you live, who whispered that you'd do anything to protect them." My heart pounded. Someone in my own family had betrayed me. I stood abruptly, the chair screeching against the floor. "You won't win," I hissed. He only laughed as I stormed out, his voice following me. "See you next month, Mama." For days I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. The thought gnawed at me. Who had betrayed us, who had told him I would pay. One night, unable to bear it, I confronted my son. "Tell me the truth," I demanded, standing in his kitchen, my voice shaking. "Did you give him my number?" He looked at me as if I had struck him. "What? No, Mom, I would never." "Then who?" I shouted. "Who in this family handed me over to that monster?" His wife's face paled. She looked down at her hands, silent. "Answer me," I cried. Finally, in a voice barely above a whisper, she said, "It was me." The room spun. "You?" Tears filled her eyes. "I didn't mean to. He found me before the wedding. He said he would ruin everything unless I told him where to find you. I was scared. I thought he just wanted to scare you. I didn't know he would do this." I staggered back, my breath ripped from my chest. My own daughter-in-law, the woman I had defended, the woman I had protected, had put me in the monster's crosshairs. My son turned to her in disbelief. You betrayed my mother," she sobbed, reaching for him. I was desperate. I didn't know what else to do. He pushed her hand away, his face filled with rage. I stood there, broken, my world collapsing. The betrayal cut deeper than any wound, and in that moment I realized the ex-husband wasn't the only enemy. The real danger had always been closer, inside my own home. The daughter-in-law was the one who told the ex-husband to target the mother. Suspense escalates. Betrayal now comes from within the family. The mother realizes the fight isn't only with the ex. It's also about trust inside her home. Where the mother finally starts fighting back, gathering evidence, planning a counterattack, and setting up the climactic confrontation. All right, now we step into part 8, the turning point. Here, the mother stops being the victim and begins fighting back. The tone shifts from despair to determination, but the suspense and betrayals keep building. I left their house that night without saying another word. The streets were dark, the lamps glowing faintly as the rain began to fall. My steps were heavy, but inside me, something sharp and unbreakable had begun to stir. All my life I had carried burdens for others quietly, faithfully, without complaint. I had sacrificed dreams, health, even dignity for my family. But this, being forced into blackmail, betrayed by the very woman who married into my family, no, I would not let that be my legacy. By the time I reached my front door, soaked to the bone, I had made up my mind. I would fight. The question was how. The next morning I went to the police station. I sat across from an officer, my hands folded, and I told him everything. Or almost everything, his brows knitted as I spoke. Blackmail, threats, extortion, it's serious, but do you have proof? I lowered my gaze. Proof, that was the problem. It was my word against his, and men like him knew how to slip through cracks in the law. Get me evidence, the officer said firmly. Recordings, texts, money trails. Then we can act. Until then, he sighed, shaking his head. Be careful. I walked out with my stomach in knots, but I had a plan now. The next time I met the ex-husband at the cafe, I smiled politely, masking the storm inside me. You're early, he smirked. I like to be punctual, I said, setting the envelope down. But inside my purse, hidden in a folded scarf, was a small recording device I had borrowed from a friend. Every word he spoke would now be mine to use. He leaned forward, his grin mocking. You know, I almost admire you. Most women your age would have broken by now, but not you. No, you keep coming back. I forced myself to stay calm. I told you I'll protect my son, no matter what it costs me, costs you, he chuckled. Oh, this is just the beginning. You think 5,000 is enough. Next month I'll want 10. My stomach twisted, but I kept my face steady. And if I can't, he smirked, then your son finds out the truth, or maybe the police, or maybe, he leaned closer. Your neighbors, imagine the shame, the whispers, the headlines. I clenched my fists under the table. You're a monster. His eyes gleamed, and you're my prey. I smiled faintly, we'll see. He frowned at my tone, but didn't press further. When he left, I sat there for a long moment, trembling, my heart hammering. Then I touched the recorder inside my purse. His voice was mine now, his threats, his greed, his cruelty, proof, the first crack in his armor. But the battle at home was not so simple. My son was distant, his anger at his wife raw and festering. She tried to reach for him, tried to explain, but he shut her out. Their house, once filled with the sounds of new love, became a silent battlefield. One night he called me. His voice was broken. Mom, I don't know if I can forgive her. I swallowed hard. She was wrong, deeply wrong, but she's also trapped just like you, just like all of us. Don't let him destroy your marriage along with everything else. Do you still trust her? He asked bitterly. I hesitated. No. But sometimes we have to hold on to people even when they break us, because if we don't, we let the enemy win. There was silence on the line. Then a whisper, I don't know if I'm as strong as you. My eyes filled with tears, then lean on me until you are. But as I spoke those words, I couldn't shake a darker thought. If the ex-husband had already pushed my daughter-in-law into betrayal once, what was to stop him from using her again? The thought haunted me. The war wasn't just against him. It was inside our walls, and I was running out of time before he tore everything apart. The mother shifts into action mode, secretly recording him for evidence. He escalates, demanding double the money. Home tension rises, the son can't forgive his wife, the family balance is cracking. Suspense, the mother suspects the daughter. In-law might still be vulnerable to the ex's manipulation. Would you like me to continue with part 9, where the ex-husband manipulates the daughter? And law again leading to a dangerous betrayal, and the mother's secret recordings nearly get exposed. Betrayal returns, tension rises, and the mother's secret weapon, her recordings, comes dangerously close to being exposed. The next week was like walking on broken glass. My son barely spoke to his wife, though I could see the effort she made cooking his favorite meals, trying to sit beside him, whispering apologies he refused to hear. But I also saw something else: guilt, fear, restlessness. Every time her phone buzzed, she jumped. Every time she left the room, her eyes darted as if someone was watching. One night, when my son had fallen asleep on the couch, I caught her in the kitchen whispering into the phone. My heart stopped. I stepped into the light. "Who are you talking to?" She froze, her face pale as the moon. "And no one, just a friend." I walked closer. "A friend or him?" Her eyes filled with tears. "Please don't." "Don't what?" My voice broke, rising with anger I had held for too long. "Don't ask why you would betray me again, after everything I've sacrificed." She collapsed into a chair, sobbing. "He won't stop calling me. He says if I don't answer, he'll come here, he'll hurt us. He knows everything. He said he knows about the recording." The air left my lungs. "The recording," I whispered. She nodded miserably. "He said you're trying to trap him, that he'll destroy you if you don't hand it over." I staggered back, my chest tight. How had he found out? I had been careful, so careful. The device never left my purse, never left my sight. But somehow he knew, and now he was using her to get to me again. The next day I received a message on my phone. No words, just a photo. It was me sitting in the cafe, the recorder hidden in my purse. The photo had been taken from across the room. My hands trembled. He had been watching me. He knew everything. Moments later, another message followed: "Bring me the recording tonight, or I send this photo to the police and your son finds out everything." My vision blurred with panic. If he exposed me, he would twist the story, make it seem like I was the criminal, the blackmailer, and worse, my son would lose the fragile hope he still clung to. That night I sat in my living room, clutching the recorder. My son knocked on the door, his face weary, his voice soft. "Mom, are you okay? You've been quiet lately." I forced a smile. "I'm fine, just tired." He studied me for a long moment. "You're hiding something." I shook my head quickly. "No, nothing." But inside I was crumbling, because the truth was I couldn't tell him. If I did, he would run straight into the ex-husband's trap. And this time, I wasn't sure either of us would come out alive. So I lied. I lied to protect him, even as the walls closed in. The following evening, I went to the cafe with the recorder hidden deep in my coat pocket. My hands shook as I waited. He arrived late, as always, strolling in with that smug grin. "Well, Mama," he drawled. "Do you have something for me?" I slid the envelope of cash across the table. "That's all you'll ever get from me." He laughed, shaking his head. "You're bold. I like that. But no, I want the recording." I clenched my fists. "You won't get it." He leaned in, his voice low and dangerous. "Then your son will, and when he hears you've been sneaking around, plotting against me, risking his freedom. Tell me, do you think he'll forgive you, or will he see you as the reason his life crumbles?" My throat burned with unshed tears, but I stared him down. "I raised my son. I know him better than you ever will, and he will never believe you." For the first time, his smile faltered. Just for a moment, but then he leaned back, smirking. "We'll see." When I returned home, I locked my door, sat in the dark, and held the recorder in my hands. It was no longer just evidence, it was my shield, my sword, the only weapon I had left, and I swore to myself, if he wanted war, then war he would have. I was done being prey. The daughter-in-law gets manipulated again, nearly betraying the mother. The ex-husband discovers the secret recordings and threatens exposure. Suspense. The mother stands firm, refusing to hand it over, but the danger escalates. Tone shift. The mother finally commits to fighting a war. The mother finally stops reacting and starts setting traps. This is where the story builds toward the climax. The night after our confrontation, I couldn't sleep. I sat at the kitchen table, the recorder before me, the ticking clock loud in the silence. For weeks I had let him dictate the game. He demanded. I paid. He threatened. I trembled. He hunted. I hid no more. I was tired of being cornered, tired of seeing my son broken, tired of living like prey. I decided I would end this, but I couldn't do it alone. The next morning I called someone I had avoided for years, my brother Daniel. When he picked up, his voice was rough with age, but familiar. "Haven't heard from you in a long time. I need your help," I said quietly. There was a pause. What kind of help? The kind that could ruin me if I'm wrong. Another pause, then tell me everything. By the time I finished, Daniel was silent on the other end. Finally, he said, "You're dealing with a snake. You can't fight snakes with bare hands. I have a recording," I whispered. "That's a start, but you need more. You need him to incriminate himself so deeply that no amount of lies can save him." "How?" "Set a trap, make him think he's winning while you're the one holding the knife." That evening I visited my son. He looked worn, shadows under his eyes. My daughter-in-law hovered nearby, guilt etched into her face. I placed my hands on the table. "Listen to me. We can't live like this anymore. We have to fight him." My son shook his head. "Mom, he's dangerous. If we push him, he's already destroying us." I cut in. "Every day we stay silent, we lose another piece of ourselves." His wife's eyes flicked up, watery. "What can we do? He has all the power." I met her gaze. "No, he only has the power we give him." For the first time, I saw a flicker of hope in her eyes. The plan was simple but dangerous. I would agree to meet him, tell him I was ready to hand over the recording, but only if he came to collect it in person at night in a private place. My brother Daniel, who still had friends in the police, would make sure hidden cameras and microphones were waiting. If all went well, we would catch every word, every threat, every demand. Enough to bury him for good. But if it failed, it could destroy us all. When I called the ex-husband, my voice was steady. "I have what you want." He chuckled darkly. "So the old lioness finally gives up." "Not over the phone." I said, "Meet me tomorrow night, the abandoned warehouse by the river. You'll get the recording there." He was silent for a moment, then laughed, dramatic. "I like it. Fine, tomorrow night." When the call ended, my hands shook, but my heart was steady. For the first time in weeks, I felt something I thought I'd lost: control. The next day was the longest of my life. I worked at the bakery as if nothing had changed, smiling at customers, tying ribbons on bread bags. But inside, every tick of the clock felt like a drumbeat leading to war. That evening, I stood in my mirror, staring at my reflection. I looked older, tired, but there was fire in my eyes. "I am not afraid." I whispered, and for the first time it was true. When I arrived at the warehouse, the air was cold, damp, heavy with rust and dust. My footsteps echoed on the cracked concrete. I clutched my purse, the recorder inside, though it was no longer just a device, it was bait. A shadow moved near the doorway. Then he appeared, smiling like a wolf. "You look nervous," he said, stepping closer. "I just want this to end." I said softly. "Oh, it will," he murmured, circling me like a predator. "Once I have that little toy of yours, you'll never have to see me again." He reached for my purse. And in that moment, I thought of my son, of the baby that hadn't yet been born, of every sacrifice, every tear, every wound. I pulled the purse closer to my chest. "Say it first." He frowned. "Say what?" "Say what you've been doing. Say what you've been demanding from me out loud." He laughed. "Why? Because I want to hear you admit it." His grin widened. "Fine. I've been blackmailing you. I've been bleeding you dry. I've been making you my puppet, and I'll keep doing it until you have nothing left." His voice rang through the warehouse. And I smiled, because I knew the microphones were catching every word. But then, before I could breathe, a new voice cut through the air. "Stop!" I turned, and my blood ran cold. It was my daughter-in-law. She stood in the doorway, tears streaming down her face. "Don't do this," she cried. "Please, he'll kill us all if you push him too far." The ex-husband grinned. "Ah, the little traitor returns." I staggered back. My plan, it was collapsing. She wasn't supposed to be here, and now everything hung in the balance. The mother sets a trap with police secretly recording. The ex admits to blackmail, incriminating himself. Cliffhanger, the daughter-in-law shows up unexpectedly, threatening to ruin everything. Here, everything explodes at once. Betrayal, confrontation, violence, and the moment where the mother's strength is tested to its breaking point. The warehouse air turned sharp, every breath cutting my lungs like glass. My daughter-in-law's sudden appearance shattered the fragile balance I had built. "What are you doing here?" I cried, my voice trembling with both fear and fury. She shook her head, tears streaming. "I couldn't let you face him alone. Please give him what he wants before it's too late." The ex-husband chuckled, clapping slowly. "Bravo, the perfect picture of loyalty. Shame it's misplaced." He grabbed her arm, yanking her closer. She gasped, struggling against his grip. "Let her go," I shouted, stepping forward. He sneered, "Or what? You'll hit me with your purse." I clenched my fists. "You've taken enough from me. You won't touch her." He laughed, tightening his hold on her. "She's mine as much as she is your son's. Don't forget. I had her first, and deep down she'll always be mine." Her scream cut through me like a blade. My heart pounded, rage roaring in my ears. For a moment, I forgot the police, the microphones, the careful plan. All I saw was a man dragging my family back into hell. I lunged forward, shoving him with all the strength I had. He stumbled back, releasing her arm, his eyes blazing with shock and fury. "You dare touch me," he hissed. "You'll never touch her again." I spat, his fist clenched, rising ready to strike me. But before it could fall, a voice thundered from the shadows. "Police, drop your weapon, hands where we can see them." Red and blue lights flared outside, the sound of boots crashing against the concrete. Officers swarmed in, their shouts echoing through the cavernous space. The ex-husband froze, eyes wide, his smug grin crumbling for the first time. "You set me up," he whispered, staring at me with venom. I met his gaze, my chest heaving. "No, you set yourself up." The officers surrounded him, cuffing his wrists as he cursed and struggled. But his words cut deeper than any blow. "This isn't over, Mama. You think you've won. I'll be back. I'll destroy you, your son, your whole family. You'll never be free of me." They dragged him away, his screams echoing until they faded into the night, and then silence. The warehouse fell still, broken only by my daughter-in-law's sobs. She crumpled to the ground, trembling. I rushed to her side, pulling her into my arms. "It's over," I whispered, though my voice shook. "It's finally over." But deep down I wasn't sure, because his threats still lingered in the air like smoke. Later, at the police station, the officers replayed the recordings. His voice filled the room, every threat, every demand, every admission. There was no escape for him now. "This is more than enough," the detective said firmly. "He'll be locked away for a long time." I nodded, relief flooding through me. But exhaustion weighed heavier. My body ached, my mind spun. My son arrived soon after, his face pale with worry. When he saw me, he rushed forward, pulling me into his arms. "Mom," he whispered, his voice breaking. "I thought I lost you. You'll never lose me," I said, holding him tightly. "Not while I breathe." Then his eyes shifted to his wife, who sat silently in the corner, her hands clasped, her face streaked with tears. For a long moment the room was thick with unspoken words. Finally she whispered, "I'm sorry for everything, for betraying you, for hurting you, for being too weak to fight him." My son's jaw tightened, pain flashing in his eyes. But instead of turning away, he reached for her hand. "We'll heal," he said softly. "Somehow we'll heal." I watched them, tears filling my eyes. For the first time in what felt like forever, I allowed myself to believe in hope. But I also knew this wasn't the end, because even with him behind bars, the scars he left would never truly fade. And the road to healing would be longer than any of us could imagine. The trap works, the ex incriminates himself, gets arrested. Dramatic climax with confrontation, police storming in, emotional fallout. The son and his wife face a fragile reconciliation. Suspense remains. His threats suggest the story isn't fully over. Would you like me to take it into the final part 12? where we close with resolution, lingering scars, and the moral lesson you wanted for the ending. You said, "Continue chat," GPT said. All right, now we move into part 12, the final act and resolution. This is where everything slows down, emotions rise, and the story ends with a powerful moral lesson. Weeks passed. The days after the arrest blurred into one another. Long interrogations, court hearings, endless paperwork. But every time I closed my eyes, I still heard his voice echoing in my head, "You'll never be free of me." Some nights I woke drenched in sweat, reaching for the recorder as if it were a lifeline. Other nights I sat at the window, staring at the stars, wondering if peace was something we would ever truly know again. But gradually, little by little, life began to return. My son started speaking to his wife again, his tone no longer sharp, but soft, cautious, as though rebuilding something fragile and broken. I watched him sit with her at the table, his hand brushing hers, their silences less heavy than before. The first time I saw them laugh again, a small, awkward laugh over burnt toast, I cried quietly in the kitchen, letting the sound wash over me like sunlight. One afternoon, I visited the prison where the ex-husband was being held. The officer looked surprised when I asked to see him. "Are you sure?" he asked. "Yes," I said firmly. "I need to look him in the eye one last time." When they brought him out, he was thinner, his swagger dulled by iron bars and cold walls. But his eyes still burned with hatred. "So the lioness comes to gloat." He sneered. I shook my head. "No, I came to tell you that you don't own me anymore. You never did, and no matter what you say, no matter what poison you try to spread, you'll rot in here while we rebuild." He smirked faintly. "We'll see." I leaned forward, my voice low and steady. "You took my peace, my trust, my sleep, but you'll never take my spirit. You lost the moment you underestimated a mother's love." For the first time, he said nothing. He just stared at me, the fight gone from his eyes. I turned and walked away, my heart lighter than it had been in years. Months later, when my grandchild was finally born, I held the baby in my arms, the tiny weight trembling with life. My son stood beside me, tears streaming down his face, his wife resting in the hospital bed with exhausted joy. "Mom," my son whispered, "I don't know how to thank you. If it weren't for you," his voice broke, "we wouldn't be here." I looked down at the baby, so pure, so untouched by the darkness we had survived, and I smiled through my tears. "You don't need to thank me," I said softly. "Just promise me something." He nodded quickly. "Anything." "Promise me you'll protect this child, not just with strength, but with love. Promise me you'll never let fear or pride or silence destroy what we fought for." He took my hand, squeezing it tightly. "I promise." As I rocked the baby gently, I thought back on everything, the betrayal, the blackmail, the nights I nearly gave up. And I realized something. Life will always bring storms. People will lie. They will hurt you. They will betray you. Sometimes even the ones you love most will falter. But we are not defined by the storms. We are defined by how we rise after them. I was a mother who carried burdens I thought would crush me, but instead, they became the fire that forged me stronger. And if my story carried any lesson, it was this: love is not weakness. Sacrifice is not foolishness. And when darkness comes, it is the strength of the heart, the love of a mother, that can light the way through. The baby stirred softly in my arms, eyes opening for the briefest moment. Tiny, innocent eyes that knew nothing of pain, nothing of betrayal. I kissed the child's forehead and whispered, "You will never know the chains we broke to bring you here. You will only know the freedom we fought for."